Are you being hacked by the government? Are people tracking every single thing you say? Are your thoughts being calculated? Let's dial it down a little bit, ladies and gentlemen. I genuinely do want to help. Trust me on this, okay? This kind of stuff is fun for me, and just bringing light entertainment to it, comedy, and a bit of education is kind of what makes me get off in the morning. But what doesn't get me off exactly is stealing user data. That's just pretty shady. Now, is this application, Zepeto, whatever the fuck this is called in the first place, Zepeto, is it stealing your data? Now, I've read a bunch of these articles on the internet, usually from terrible fucked-hearted sites. You know what I'm talking about. Come on now, okay? We've mentioned them a million times before. About this application basically farming user data. Now, a lot of Twitter users, after using the social network Zepeto, have basically claimed that they're hearing a weird static sound from their phone's earpiece. And look, is that a thing? Or is that a possibility, you may wonder? To me, ladies and gentlemen, maybe your data might be getting stolen. If you take a look back, you know, when I talked about free products specifically, free products usually aren't free just for the sake of it. If something is free, that means you're the product in anything. Let me give you a decent example, okay? If you look at any tiny company that's working in the tech field, a decent startup, and they're doing well, make sure to check what their business history is like. Have they been bought out by a big company? Chances are they're probably a front company for mining AI data. For example, a good thing is the social network that you're watching this video on, YouTube. YouTube does not really make Google any bit of profits that are worth bragging about. So you wonder, why does Google even bother? Because YouTube, with every video uploaded and all the footage that is fed, all the audio that is fed, my face, expressions, everything, your comments, it's all going into a giant AI pit at Google and Alphabet, which is their parent company. And that is where they make their big money. So even if something off the top of its head isn't making any cash, it probably fucking is, because the world is not stupid and everything has a purpose. And that was pretty cringy. But ladies and gentlemen, is Zepeto really responsible for stealing user data? Are these claims substantiated? Well, that takes Muda into testing phase, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in order to test such an application like this, I have to be using it for a fair amount of time. Unfortunately, I don't really get into social networks for the reason I mentioned before, with, you know, data being stolen and me being fed into an AI machine after all. For me, the real logical conclusion to any of these social networks is I just don't really give a shit. I mean, I use a couple of them, that's fine, but usually my social network is tied to just communicating with friends and family. So when I look at an application like this, Zepeto, which is essentially just an avatar-based social network, I'm not really too down for it. So my method of testing here was a little different than usual. Instead of going into a virtual machine, I actually wanted to see what this would do on basic hardware. So I got my actual phone, my real daily driver, a Samsung Note 9, and I decided to use this as a pretty accurate test point. Not only is it real hardware, but it also comes with something that can protect my data. Now, before we continue, I think I have to just give a little primer. Samsung has something called Samsung Knox Framework, which is a really intense security framework that they have on their devices, tablets and phones, and I believe in other products as well too. But basically, the security enclave they use gives, you know, Apple, you know, toe-to-toe in terms of protecting their data, in terms of user encryption. And Samsung is a big tech company. They probably might be the biggest tech company in the world if you look at all the assets combined. Samsung knows what the fuck they're doing. And when it comes to Android devices, I'm not getting paid or anything by anybody, but if you ask my personal opinion, I think Samsung might just make the most secure devices out of them all. Google, on the other hand, I would not give two flying fucks toward, because just last month, 500,000 people apparently downloaded malware from their store that was just left up there. Apple and Samsung, for me, are at least the kings in terms of keeping sure user security is a must. It's how these devices sell in the market. They usually have to cater to a pretty high-end enterprise market, and to do that, you have to make sure your devices are safe. Now, Samsung, using their Knox framework, actually creates, I guess you could say, a virtual partition within its phone. So I can actually copy this application to a separate encrypted part of the phone, so it never has to touch my data to begin with. And that's how I'm going to give this application full permissions, full everything, to check every single aspect of what it can do. So first things first, we're going to go analyze this real quickly. Now I have a pretty brute force method of doing it, and we'll cut right to it just now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go right to that, and I'll discuss afterwards. So we got some guerrilla style videography over here. Now this is Zepeto, which is #3 top free entertainment on Google Play Store. Now round over here you can actually see that the application is just over here, all fine and dandy. It's got about 5 million users, 3.7 stars out of 68,000 reviews. So right here you can actually kind of tell that, you know, this is an application with some serious backing. Now of course from the actual screenshots you've got 3D making avatars. What is this, IMVU again? What? All right, let's let the demon come out. So do you allow it to take pictures and record video? Well, I mean, fuck, why not? Record audio? Oh, hell yeah, dude. That's exactly what we're here for. Oh, access photos, media, and files on your device. Well, steal all my data, please God. Thank you in heaven. Alright, so it's starting off, it's a simple looking application, I guess you could say. Come on now. How much do we got to tab? Get through? Is it installing stuff? Alright, so far, make a new you right now. Yeah, sure, let's make a Zepeto. Why not? Later. How about we do it later? You don't have to sign up now. Okay, that's great. We give it one of these facial captures, I guess you could say. Let's pull one of those off. And there we go, dude. Process my face. Again, dude, speeding into that AI machine. That looks fucking terrible. But let's hit next. That's apparently my Zepeto or something of the sort. And so it got them all. It basically checked my face and made some 3D clusterfuck. I'm not hearing anything different actually. So right now we seem to be pretty safe. Name my character. A, dude. Let's call it A, buddy. There we go. Nobody's using that name, are they? Oh boy, here we go. So we got our character right over here. I'm not hearing the weird static that I normally would, and usually I can pick it up pretty easily. So let's actually check around the app real quick. So you got this whole create a magic shot, photo booth, all that kind of stuff. Daily quest, first timer. Okay, congratulates. Have a look at clothes and item shop. You can buy clothes here. Oh yeah, let's go there, man. Let's buy some. Let's buy this little. Okay, sure. Why not? I have about 1,000 of these Zepeto coins or something of the sort. Let's just buy one. Why not? I look like a flasher, dude. I actually look like a fucking flasher at the park, dude. What the hell? All right, that's kind of cute, I guess. The thing is that there's a microtransaction currency. I mean, there's no way I can buy it. Can I skip that? Can I skip it, please? Is the quest too difficult? Oh, watch an ad and skip. No, I don't want to skip it. All right, let's go see so they got some games on the app over here, so you can go do flying Zepeto, which is tap and avoid boxes, I guess. That's Flappy Bird, and this is not just Flappy Bird, it's like the easiest form of Flappy Bird. So yeah, it's a game kind of designed for kids, man. I mean, what do you expect, right? Let's just, let's back out of there. You want to quit flying Ghost? Hell yes. So yeah, there's really not much you can do without feeding it more user data. So all we're really going to do is just kind of, so now, there's not really much you can do without feeding it more user data, all right? Enough dicking around. I got a pretty cool test to doing it, not really. Basically, I'm going to take a lavalier mic that's plugged into a mixer, and I'm just going to like stripe it across all possible speakers. So really, that's the actual goal for it. So I'm going to basically play with the app and see what we can do from there. Anytime it's calling in for something, we'll be able to pick it up. So let's see if we get something. Okay, I've been kind of at this for like 40 minutes now. Nothing's really going on. I'm going to have to check later on in post-production to see if any microphone picked on anything. I also ran it through any form of check and balance on the phone itself. So no permissions are really getting called, it seems. I mean, I have to look at it a little bit further. So let's go back to the main course. So yeah, that was my analysis method, and it's not exactly the most foolproof method out there, but it's one of the best I could probably come up with given the time that I really didn't want to try using the social network more than I had to. So first things first, we obviously played around with the application enough to get a general gauge of what it was, but the real important part was using a lavalier mic. Now, the reality of it is that were we picking up the static noise? Yes, we were. But there are a million reasons for it, and some of them can be dependent on how you look at why this was happening. So let's get things down in one case. Anytime a weird static noise is heard when the microphone is being used, that actually is normal. And the easiest way to try it on Android phones is actually just call your number and put the phone up to your ear. You should probably hear very faint static, and that's because as you're making the call, your microphone is being used. I really don't know why this has to be the case with Android. I don't think it's the case on iOS, but on Android it still seems to be a situation. And that can mean a lot of things for this application. Are there moments where it really doesn't need my microphone access, but it's still pulling it? I think so. After extensive testing on my front, putting the lavalier mic up to any potential speaker on my phone and seeing for any differences in decibels, I was able to calculate it was pretty sporadic. So chances are, is your data being monitored? Absolutely, because your microphone is running. Now, is that data being used for any malicious purposes, or is it just being called for something in the application for a very necessary purpose? That's one thing that I really can't put my finger down on. I don't know if Zepeto is necessarily being criminal with this kind of stuff, if they're being wrong about this, if they're mining your data without you really knowing, because a lot of the actual calls for the microphone seemed pretty legit, but sometimes there were moments where it was just randomly using it for almost no reason. But however, it was so sporadic and so in between, sometimes for like half a second really, that it doesn't seem like any data was being mined in that instance. And if there was, it was such a minuscule amount of data, maybe a breath here and there, just to, and if that's being fed into some AI machine, then really that's just stupid machine learning on my part. But anyways, in this situation, ladies and gentlemen, do I think that they're necessarily being harmful with user data? No, not from what I can gather in this situation. Would I trust them? No, not at all. And there's, of course, a very good reason for that. Like most social networks that are free, they often come with you as the product. So again, I don't know, aside from a couple of these calls, and whether this starts to get more aggressive as time goes on. Maybe it's like after 4 or 5 hours now, it just decides to go hardcore, or something, you know, completely flips a switch. I can't rely on this application, knowing what it does. And I mean, I'm a kind of guy that can't rely on most social media applications giving all these powers to them. So do I trust this off-brand, weird-looking social network that I've just heard of like 2 weeks ago? No, not at all. Not even in the slightest. So that being said, I'm not here to say anything negative about Zepeto. I don't want any legal issues for sure. I can't exactly confirm if they're doing something right or if they're doing something wrong, but in Muda's opinion, I definitely would not trust something like this. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, hope you learned a little bit about keeping your phone safe, keeping your data safe, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it if you dislike it. I am one fucking hell of a nerd, and I'm out.